Have you ever paused to wonder what truly happens to your soul the very moment your body is consumed by fire? This isn't just a dark curiosity, it's one of humanity's oldest, most profound fears that transcends cultures, religions, and centuries of human history. Take a moment to reflect on your own instinctive reaction to fire. Think about when you accidentally touch something hot, like a stove burner. Without even thinking, you yank your hand away before the pain fully registers. This reflex is wired into us at the deepest level because fire literally destroys living cells. Now, if your body reacts this way to heat, what happens to that part of you that isn't physical? Your spirit, your essence. Cremation became widely accepted in the 20th century, largely due to practical reasons: shrinking cemetery space, hygiene concerns, and the rising costs of traditional burials. It was a convenient fix to modern problems. But in our rush to adopt cremation, have we overlooked ancient wisdom about what really happens during the passage from life to death? What's more unsettling is how common cremation has become. In the US, it went from just 5% of deaths in 1970 to over half today. Millions choose this without fully considering potential spiritual consequences. Even more alarming are the consistent reports from mediums around the world who communicate with cremated spirits. They describe experiences filled with burning sensations, confusion, and despair, as if the transition didn't go as it should. These patterns appear again and again from sensitive individuals across different countries and backgrounds who don't know each other. One of the most detailed warnings came from Edgar Cayce, perhaps the most documented psychic of the 20th century. While others have shared similar messages, Cayce's insights were uniquely vivid. During his trance readings, he revealed what happens when a body is cremated before the soul has had the chance to fully disconnect. Far from being a calm, painless passage, Cayce described a traumatic ordeal for the soul, one that can have lasting effects well beyond physical death. What if he was right? What if many are unknowingly subjecting their souls to needless suffering? This isn't about superstition or religious doctrine. It's a serious exploration of consciousness and its relationship with the physical body. Quantum research has already shown that consciousness can exist independently from the brain. Near-death studies document people experiencing awareness during clinical death. If consciousness survives the heartbeat stopping, why wouldn't it perceive what's happening to the body it still considers home? The true mystery isn't just what Cayce saw, but what it reveals about our existence and the critical choices we make, or that are made for us, at the moment of death. In 1944, a grieving widow came to Cayce, desperate to understand what happened to her husband, who was cremated just 3 days after passing. During the trance, Cayce described something unsettling. His usually steady voice cracked with distress. He spoke of flames burning where no physical sensation should exist. A soul trapped in agony, unable to fully break free. Cayce's account was hauntingly specific. The man's soul experienced every moment of the cremation as if alive, feeling the searing heat spreading through his etheric body, not physical pain, but a far deeper spiritual trauma, a violation of the natural death process. The soul was confused and lost throughout, denied a smooth passage to the afterlife. Instead, it endured a violent, premature separation from its body, like a vital cord abruptly severed before its time. Cayce described how the soul struggled to detach, but was held back by energetic cords of light, which normally dissolve over days after death. When cremation happens too soon, these cords burn along with the body, causing profound spiritual injury. Even more shocking, Cayce said, the suffering doesn't end when the flames die down. This energetic trauma can linger for months or years, hindering the soul's ability to move on naturally. He also explained how this trauma makes it hard for the soul to communicate with loved ones left behind. Cremated souls often become fragmented energetically, needing time to heal before reconnecting with the physical world. There are spiritual guardians, beings of light, who usually assist souls during transition, but these helpers become disturbed by the premature cremation suffering, disrupting not just one soul but the surrounding spiritual environment. During the reading, Cayce noted the man's soul tried desperately to warn his family. The widow likely experienced unexplained anxiety, nightmares, or odd feelings before the cremation. When she confirmed this, the reading's accuracy was undeniable. The soul had sent all its remaining energy through dreams and intuition to warn them, but without understanding, the family proceeded with cremation anyway. The most unsettling part of Edgar Cayce's vision came when he described the exact moment the flames touched the body. He said the soul emitted a scream, not audible to human ears, but one that echoed through all spiritual realms. It was a scream filled with panic and despair, so powerful that other spirits nearby could sense it, sending waves of anguish rippling across higher planes of existence. After that reading, Cayce himself was never quite the same. He began actively warning people about the dangers of rushing into cremation, urging that no procedure destroying the body take place before at least 72 hours had passed. Cayce explained that the soul follows a natural timeline to disconnect from the body, and interrupting this process can lead to serious spiritual consequences. Those close to him noticed that after this reading, Cayce started having recurring nightmares involving fire. He'd wake with a sense of urgency, as though he had to warn someone of an impending danger. It was almost as if the vision had left a lasting energetic imprint on his own soul. The number 3 keeps showing up across ancient spiritual traditions, always tied to death, rebirth, and transformation. Jesus rose on the 3rd day. Tibetans hold a 72-hour vigil after death. The Egyptians considered this time frame critical for the soul's journey. This isn't coincidence. There's deep wisdom encoded in this temporal pattern. Those 3 days represent the soul's natural window to fully disconnect from the physical body and begin its journey on the spiritual planes. Interfering with that process causes consequences well understood by our ancestors. In the first 24 hours after death, the soul remains closely linked to the body. It often stays nearby, watching family members' reactions, trying to communicate and processing the shock of passing. Many families report sensing a presence during this time, and they're right. The soul is essentially reviewing its life like a fast-forwarded film, emotionally coming to terms with its earthly experience before fully letting go. When cremation happens during this period, it's like abruptly ending a critical therapy session. On day 2, the soul starts moving away, but still maintains strong energetic ties. It tries to say more meaningful goodbyes, often appearing in dreams or sending signs to loved ones. The soul is preparing to leave, but isn't quite ready yet. Cremating the body on day 2 forces a premature farewell, like being pushed out the door before you've finished packing. The soul simply hasn't had time to prepare for a complete separation. Day 3 marks the pivotal moment. This is when the last energetic cords between soul and body naturally dissolve. The soul is ready to move on, having completed its disconnection and integration. Cremation after this point doesn't cause spiritual harm. Before diving deeper into this ancient wisdom, it's worth noting that recognizing these natural cycles reflects a grasp of quantum principles, how the universe operates through energetic rhythms. Early participants in related studies are already reporting remarkable breakthroughs. Are you ready to explore this too? Details are in the pinned comment. Jewish tradition honors these 3 days through Shemirah, a continuous vigil by the body during which prayers are said to aid the soul's transition. Hinduism calls this time pradharma, performing rituals, chanting mantras, and making offerings, all before cremation, to ensure the soul is spiritually ready. Ancient Egyptians took this seriously enough to develop mummification, preserving the body to support the soul's well-being during transition. Even without embalming, they strictly observed the sacred 3 days. Native American shamans performed ceremonies over these days, entering altered states to guide souls safely onward, preventing trauma or obstacles. What's remarkable is that cultures across the globe, with no contact between them, developed this knowledge independently. This suggests the 3-day period reflects a universal, spiritual truth, not cultural guesswork. Modern near-death researchers have found evidence backing this timeline. Survivors of prolonged clinical death often need about 3 days to fully process their experience and reintegrate into their bodies. Honoring the 3 sacred days respects not just the deceased, but the natural order of the cosmos. It's a profound act of love, allowing the soul to transition peacefully without rush or interference. Science today is catching up with what Cayce revealed decades ago. Respected doctors, neuroscientists, and quantum physicists are uncovering findings that support his views on consciousness beyond death and the spiritual impact of premature cremation. Dr. Ibn Alexander, a Harvard neurosurgeon, spent 7 days in a coma from bacterial meningitis. During that time, he experienced what he calls the most vivid spiritual journey of his life. Upon awakening, Alexander confirmed many of Cayce's observations about consciousness after death. Most striking was Alexander's description of an energetic cord linking him to his physical body, just as Cayce had described decades earlier. Even in a deep coma, Alexander could sense everything happening to his body. Dr. Raymond Moody, a pioneer in near-death studies, documented over 3,000 cases of people who returned from clinical death. In 89% of these accounts, patients reported maintaining some form of connection to their physical bodies during out-of-body experiences. Many individuals who have undergone medical procedures while clinically dead report intense physical discomfort. The Institute of Noetic Sciences has carried out extensive research on consciousness after death, uncovering that brain activity can continue for up to 10 minutes following cardiac arrest. Additionally, distinct energy patterns can be detected around the body for as long as 72 hours after clinical death. This timeline aligns perfectly with Edgar Cayce's description of the necessary window for the soul to fully disconnect from the body. Dutch cardiologist Dr. Pim van Lommel published influential studies in The Lancet, documenting patients who were declared clinically dead but later recalled detailed experiences during that time. Some patients described sensations of pain when their bodies were handled, despite being technically dead. Researchers at the University of Southampton conducted the largest ever study on near-death experiences and confirmed that consciousness can persist for minutes, even hours, after brain activity ceases. Importantly, many subjects reported uncomfortable physical sensations during resuscitation efforts. Dr. Jeffrey Long, an oncologist specializing in near-death research, documented cases where patients described spiritual pain connected to invasive procedures performed on their bodies while clinically dead. These accounts closely mirror what Cayce described regarding suffering during premature cremation. Professional mediums worldwide have started systematically gathering reports of encounters with spirits who experienced cremation. The patterns are strikingly consistent: confusion, disorientation, persistent burning sensations in the spiritual realm, and difficulties communicating with the living. James Van Praagh, a renowned medium, frequently encounters spirits bearing energetic wounds corresponding exactly to the parts of the body most affected by fire. This suggests that the soul retains an energetic imprint of the physical trauma. Suzanne Giesemann, a former U.S. Navy officer, turned medium, has documented hundreds of cases where cremated spirits report prolonged suffering after death. She notes that these souls often take significantly longer to regain energetic balance compared to those who were buried traditionally. At the Monroe Institute, a leading center for consciousness research, experiments with experienced astral travelers revealed that they could sense disturbed energy fields around cremation furnaces. These energy disruptions, accompanied by lingering anguish, reportedly persist for weeks after the procedure. Dr. Bruce Grayson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia and editor of the Journal of Near-Death Studies, compiled data from thousands of near-death experiences. He found that patients who endured painful physical procedures during clinical death often suffer lasting psychological effects, even after physical recovery. Recent research into human biomagnetic fields shows that the body emits detectable energy signatures up to 96 hours after death. Sensitive instruments can measure these emissions, suggesting some form of vital energy endures well beyond biological function. Japanese scientists have even captured photographs of auras surrounding recently deceased bodies, noting these energies gradually fade over 3 days and disappear entirely after 72 hours. When bodies are cremated within this window, these photographs reveal a sudden fragmentation of the aura, as if violently disrupted. Massachusetts General Hospital conducted studies on cellular memory, how cells retain information after death, and discovered cells can respond to stimuli up to 4 days post-mortem, implying some level of consciousness persists at the cellular level, far longer than previously thought. All this evidence points toward the same conclusion. Consciousness and the soul's connection to the body remain significant well after physical death, just as Edgar Cayce described. Descriptions of what souls endure during premature cremation are deeply troubling and remarkably consistent across different sources. Mediums, near-death experiencers, and even those who briefly returned from clinical death report similar sensations when asked about this experience. The first sensation is often sheer terror. Imagine awakening trapped inside a blazing furnace, unable to scream or escape. The soul, still tethered to the body by the silver cord, endures every moment of cremation fully conscious and aware. There is no spiritual numbing, no anesthesia for this kind of trauma. Mediums report that souls describe an unrelenting burning sensation, an intense heat that extends far beyond the physical cremation itself. This ethereal heat lingers within the soul's energetic structure for months or even years afterward, as though the fire permanently scars the spiritual essence. In the initial minutes, the soul is overwhelmed by confusion, unable to grasp why it feels pain when it should be dead. This confusion quickly turns to feelings of betrayal, as if loved ones intentionally caused suffering, though this is not the case. Sensitive individuals claim they can hear these spiritual screams during cremations, not audible to the physical ear but resonating across the etheric realms. Other spirits nearby perceive these anguished cries, creating a ripple of energetic disturbance that affects the surrounding spiritual environment. Perhaps the most harrowing experience reported is forced dissolution, the soul feeling as though parts of itself are being torn away alongside the burning body. This fragmentation clashes with the soul's instinct to remain whole. Despite desperate resistance, the soul cannot prevent this tearing. Many souls describe a sensation of falling during cremation, as if being pulled down into denser, darker realms where suffering intensifies. This occurs because the energetic trauma lowers the soul's vibration, drawing it into lower spiritual planes. The experience also magnifies the perception of cremation's odors and sensations, making the ordeal even more vivid and distressing. The soul doesn't just endure the intense heat, it also perceives the smell of its own flesh burning, the crackling roar of the flames, and even the voices of the crematorium workers. It's a fully immersive, traumatic sensory experience. Spirits who have gone through cremation often describe a lingering sense of incompleteness, as if vital pieces of themselves were lost in the process. This feeling of being fragmented can block their ability to communicate clearly with the living and stall their spiritual progress. The pain isn't just physical or energetic, it's profoundly emotional. The soul experiences deep sorrow when it realizes it can't finish its natural transition. It's like being abruptly woken from a crucial dream, leaving a frustrating void that lingers indefinitely. Mediums often report seeing burn marks on the spiritual bodies of cremated souls. These marks aren't just visual, they cause ongoing pain on the etheric level. The soul must endure a lengthy process of energetic healing to shed these traumatic scars. During cremation, the soul feels intense isolation. It's utterly alone, feeling abandoned by loved ones who chose this path. This sense of abandonment cuts deep because the soul still carries all the emotions and memories from its earthly life. The spiritual heat the soul experiences is said to be far more intense than any physical flame, an energy that scorches the very essence of the person, causing damage that can take decades to heal. Some spirits report still sensing this residual heat years after the cremation. One of the most unsettling experiences is a warped sense of time. Those 90 minutes inside the furnace feel like hours or even days. Every second stretches out, magnifying the agony. Time becomes an enemy, relentlessly prolonging the suffering. Cremated souls also describe feeling spiritually suffocated, as though they can't properly breathe on the etheric plane. This happens because the trauma disrupts their energy centers, making it hard to absorb vital energy from higher realms. The soul is painfully aware of its body being consumed by fire, creating a vivid, traumatic memory that lingers long after physical death. Many souls also feel an urgent need to warn the living about what's happening. They pour all their remaining energy into trying to communicate, but often fail to make their message clear, fueling frustration and despair. Now that we recognize the spiritual risks of premature cremation, the big question is, how can we protect our souls and those of our loved ones during this critical transition? There are practical, respectful alternatives that honor both modern realities and ancient wisdom about the dying process. The simplest step is to honor the natural timeline for the soul's disconnection. If cremation is chosen, wait at least 72 hours after death before proceeding. This gives the soul time to complete its natural separation, preventing traumatic forced disconnection. During these 72 hours, certain practices can help the soul's transition. Keep the environment calm and peaceful. Avoid arguments or negative energy near the deceased. The soul remains sensitive to emotional vibrations and can be disturbed by conflict. Playing soft, uplifting music can help. Spiritual traditions recognize that certain frequencies support the soul's release. Classical music, mantras, or compositions designed for spiritual transition can all facilitate this process. Light white candles around the body, the gentle flicker creates a protective energy field, helping the soul maintain its integrity. Avoid harsh artificial lighting, which can interfere with delicate energetic shifts. Speak to the soul, explaining what's happening and reassuring it that it's okay to move on. Many souls linger because they feel responsible for loved ones left behind. Giving them emotional permission to let go is crucial. Certain crystals like amethyst, clear quartz, and selenite can assist. They create energetic fields that support the soul's ascent to higher dimensions. Place these stones around the body or hold them during meditation focused on the deceased. If possible, invite an experienced medium or sensitive to check if the soul has fully detached before cremation. Skilled mediums can sense when the silver cord has dissolved, ensuring the procedure is timed safely. For those who prefer to avoid cremation altogether, traditional burial remains the gentlest spiritual option. The natural decay process lets the soul disconnect gradually without trauma. The earth itself offers a protective field for peaceful transition. Modern green burials also honor these spiritual principles. By placing the body directly in the soil without chemical embalming, decomposition happens naturally and energetically harmoniously. This blends practical needs with ancient respect. For families who've already chosen immediate cremation, spiritual healing rituals can help. Forgiveness ceremonies, meditations sending healing energy to the soul, and protective prayers may reduce the spiritual harm caused by premature cremation. Some funeral homes now offer spiritual transition services that include mandatory waiting periods, calming environments, and even spiritual counselors present during the process. Consider creating a spiritual will along with your legal one. Specify your preferences for cremation timing, rituals to support transition, and how you want your soul cared for during this crucial phase. Share these wishes with your family ahead of time. Many traumatic decisions happen during grief because families weren't prepared. Open conversations about spiritual preferences can prevent rushed, harmful choices. You might also develop a family transition plan, where everyone documents their wishes for post-death care, including timelines, rituals, and trusted spiritual guides. In cases where immediate cremation is legally mandated, it's important to explore options for exceptions, grounded in religious or spiritual beliefs. Many states and counties recognize the right to perform specific spiritual rituals, and specialized attorneys can help negotiate these accommodations. Meanwhile, cultivating your own spiritual practices during life can strengthen your soul's resilience for the transition ahead. Regular meditation, energy work, and expanding spiritual awareness build a stronger energetic framework, better equipping the soul to endure trauma during passage. Those who practice astral projection or out-of-body experiences often develop a deeper understanding of the soul-body connection, which can help ease their future transition. The deliberate suppression of knowledge about the risks of premature cremation is no accident. There's a reason why modern society has discarded thousands of years of spiritual wisdom in favor of practices that can harm souls in transition. What lies behind this shift is unsettling. Our civilization has been steered to overlook essential spiritual needs. The 20th century brought a dramatic overhaul in how we handle death. Ancient traditions were rapidly replaced by efficient, industrialized methods. But this transformation wasn't organic. It was carefully engineered by interests that profit from a spiritually uninformed population. The funeral industry has ballooned into a multi-billion-dollar business focused more on profit than spiritual well-being. Cremations are quicker, cheaper, and yield higher margins than traditional burials. Speeding up the death process means serving more clients. Simple math with devastating spiritual fallout. Medical institutions adopted brain death as the official marker of death, dismissing mounting evidence that consciousness survives brain inactivity. This convenient definition allows rapid organ harvesting and body processing, ignoring the soul's natural timeline. Our education systems have systematically cut out teachings on spirituality, conscious dying, and soul care. Entire generations grow up unaware of how their end-of-life choices affect their spiritual journey. This orchestrated ignorance ensures decisions are made based solely on convenience. Scientific research on post-death consciousness, out-of-body experiences, and soul survival struggles for funding and faces ridicule from the mainstream scientific community. Researchers who pursue these topics risk their reputations. Media outlets avoid serious coverage of death's spiritual aspects, framing them as mere beliefs or superstition instead of legitimate knowledge. This controlled narrative keeps the public in the dark about alternatives to conventional funeral customs. Institutional religions also play a role. Many modern denominations have abandoned traditional teachings on after-death care, favoring simplified doctrines that don't challenge commercial practices. Religious leaders often seem unaware of their own ancestral wisdom. Laws have been changed to speed up death procedures and shorten traditional waiting periods. Public health rules justify rapid cremations, especially in sanitary crises, effectively criminalizing spiritual practices that honor the soul's natural transition. Beneath this surface lies a darker agenda. Entities that feed on negative emotional energy benefit when souls suffer trauma during transition. Premature cremations create industrial-scale spiritual suffering farms that generate low-vibration energy. Secret societies and occult groups have long understood these dynamics. They protect their own souls with specific protocols while promoting harmful practices for the masses. The marginalization of Edgar Cayce and other seers stems from their threat to these control systems. When people grasp the soul's true nature and transition processes, they become spiritually empowered and less easily manipulated. The pharmaceutical industry also profits from this ignorance. Spiritual trauma can trigger depression, anxiety, and other disorders, fueling long-term medication use, a profitable cycle of problem, reaction, and solution. Suppressing this knowledge keeps people disconnected from their innate spiritual power. Souls harmed by improper transitions often return in future lives with energetic blockages, limiting their growth and awakening potential. This creates a population more easily controlled and less capable of higher awareness. Though modern tech could spread this knowledge widely, social media algorithms suppress authentic spiritual content. Posts about spiritual growth, communicating with the deceased, and conscious death practices get minimal reach compared to superficial entertainment. The good news? This suppression is cracking. More people are awakening and sharing truths long hidden. The internet, despite its flaws, still lets vital information reach those ready to receive it. You now hold knowledge that can literally save your soul and those you love. This knowledge carries responsibility. You can choose to ignore it and follow social norms, or you can make conscious decisions honoring the soul's true nature. The choice is yours. But remember, once you know the truth, you can no longer claim ignorance. Your decisions about post-death care for yourself and others are now informed by real understanding of the spiritual consequences. Share this knowledge with loved ones. Open conversations about conscious dying and spiritual care may feel uncomfortable, but are absolutely necessary. Every person awakening to these truths contributes to humanity's collective shift toward more conscious, compassionate practices. Power is returning to where it belongs, in the hands of aware individuals who understand their spiritual nature and make wise decisions based on truth, not profit or pressure. Use this power wisely.